welcome our multi-talented All-Star Academic Award senior speaker, Jedd.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm glad that everyone can make it tonight and that we have such a large turnout this year. It's great to see so many students doing well. Thanks to everyone who made putting on this year's academic banquet possible, the teachers and staff, the cooks who brought such delicious dishes, and of course, and most importantly, the students. Thank you all. Education is no doubt a very important part at exceeding at one's goal. However, the general accepted term of succeeding at one's goal is to go to college, get a job, and, well, eventually make a lot of money. At least, that's how I perceived it. It is all very nice and definitely something to work at through one's life, but this definition needs to be tweaked. There's nothing more important than being happy with what you're doing. It kind of goes back to the age-old saying, it's not the journey's end that matters, but the journey itself. Being happy is more than just an emotion that happens to make you feel good at any particular point, something that's only substantial effect to short term. Part of succeeding is being happy. To continue your education and make the most of it, you have to like what you're doing. You should be more than just content with what you're working towards and for. That's why I feel it's valuable to stress the importance of personal education. That's a bit ambiguous of a term though. By it I mean education that takes place outside of the classroom. Being your own teacher where there's no state mandated or AP board curriculum to limit your zealous sense of inquisition. There's nothing more enjoyable than finding a subject that piques your curiosity and arouses your interest in such a way that you lose all sense of the surrounding world's existence, only to be woken from your trance of comprehension by your parents' distant yelling from the kitchen down the hall commanding you to go clean your room or take the dog out. For me, that was programming, sparked by my interest in video games from a young age and the coolest new video game devices. And yes, parents, for all those who are fearful that your child spends too many mind-numbing hours in front of the screen with their favorite video game, good can come from it. I was lucky to find something that really challenged me, put my brain to the test, and made me squirm in my chair as I thought about how to approach a new programming problem. Mr. Freeball came into chemistry last year to speak to us about joining his AP physics class. He told us that it would be a different experience from other classes we had taken, a different kind of thinking. Mr. Freeball was promising that if we took his AP class the following year, we would be challenged, and boy, he wasn't lying. It was one thing to recite history facts or to memorize math theorems, but it's a whole different class of thinking, to go into a problem without there being a clear-cut path to getting to a solution and instead being required to analyze the problem at hand. That's a valuable skill, and from what I hear, it's more of the type of thinking that's required at the college level. But if math or physics is not your thing, you won't find that type of thinking enjoyable since you don't enjoy the subject itself. And that's why I encourage you all, the students, to go out on the internet, look for something interesting and something you can study and work at, something that will actually challenge you. You may be asking yourself now, but what exactly am I looking for? How do I know if something truly interests me? And that's the point. You don't have to know, and probably won't for some time unless you're lucky. I was reading an essay by Paul Graham, What You Wish You'd Known, a while back. And I suggest you all the students do too. It's the first hit on Google if you search the title. And to give you an idea who he is first, Paul Graham holds a bachelor's in philosophy from Cornell. He's a PhD computer scientist from Harvard. He's an author of multiple books. He's a programmer who invented Yahoo's Via Web application. And if that wasn't enough, he's a painter who studied at the, I might not have the pronunciation here correct, Accademia di Belle Arti in Florence. Simply put, he's a pretty smart and well-versed guy. Anyways, what I found within his essay really spoke to me. If I could, I'd just copy and paste that essay here and recite it to you, for I could never adequately put in words he has. One piece of advice he gave was, you don't have to know in high school what you want to do with your life. It's better not rush to choose your life's work. What you need to do is discover what you like. And I believe that's so true. High school can only expose you to so much. It's impossible to know all the jobs out there and to what extent you'd enjoy them. Paul Graham even makes the point that what he is doing for a living now wasn't even a venue of work that was around when he went into college. The world around us is always evolving, and thus our choices of what we can do and what we can learn are too. So when you go to ask yourself, what really interests me, don't be taken back by the fact you might not know. When out there looking, not only are you looking for something to challenge yourself and to learn from, but you're also exposing yourself to what the world has waiting for us once we get out there. To some, my advice may just seem like a lot of work, at best another homework assignment and an optional one at that. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, let me try to convince you otherwise. Unlike schoolwork, having a passion that will help you develop your mind doesn't require strict discipline. You are free to research and try whatever you like, do it at your own pace, perfect or abandon what you're working on whenever you like. You may find having discipline useful, and that's great, but it's not a necessity. When I'm home hacking away at one of my miscellaneous programming projects, I'll jump from one to another at my heart's content. At this very moment, I have about 5 projects I'm working on, all that pique my interest in different ways. You have to do what makes you happy, do what is fun, and do what is interesting. Your goal doesn't have to govern your path should govern your goal. Be open to new ideas that may slightly or drastically change your path. As Alan Kay once said, don't worry about what anybody else is going to do. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jedd. I think loving what you do is so very important. And that leads us to our final speaker.